Energy Operation Warp Speed. It's the name our next guest has given to a vision he's introduced to the Senate on creating a global Russia-free energy future. Joining us now, Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy. I guess we might hear a little bit different view on some of these issues. Were you able to hear most of that interview, Senator, or did you just join us?
I thought it was a great interview. I thought your questions were very good. By the way, there's a lot of commonality between what the two of us might say. There will be a transition, but what I would emphasize is that IEA estimates that there will be increased use of oil and natural gas worldwide through 2050. Now, if you're speaking of a transition where in 25 years you don't need oil and gas, you don't know how to make plastic. You're not aware that many folks around the world will not have the access to the critical minerals. But on the other hand, the point you all made, there is a nexus between energy, climate, economy, and national security. And right now, we're losing all four because we've not paid attention to all four.
Senator, the executive order the Biden administration introduced on January 27th, for 2 or 3 years, or not, the ESG's been around 2 or 3 years, and they would proudly point to the fall off in financing towards fossil fuel development, and that we need to leave these things in the ground. And that was they were kind of happy that they were succeeding. And now at this point, I'm hearing that no, nothing was ever done. It had to do with the shale drop off in 2004. The pandemic shut down the drilling, and in 2020. Which is it? Were we trying to cut off financing? We had a Fed official that their stated objective was to make it harder for fossil fuel companies to raise money, and the objective was to leave hydrocarbons in the ground. Is that no longer, they won't cop to that anymore?
Well, certainly they are trying to minimize the kind of death by 1,000 cuts they were attempting to do upon fossil fuel. And they certainly were leaning into the you should not finance this. By the way, they were contributing to that by not permitting pipelines or permitting drilling leases, et cetera. And so it just became more and more expensive in order to accomplish whatever we wish. But I'll go back to what Mr. Carney was saying earlier. There'll be a transition, but we need to pay attention to the nexus of energy, climate, economy, and national security. And there could be something we could do. You mentioned at the outset my Operation Warp Speed. Sure, we're behind the 8 ball now, but if we just aligned regulatory agencies and policy, we would be able to improve permitting of renewables, but of carbon capture sequestration, but also of the oil and gas that is needed now to lower prices and to keep Europe from freezing next winter.
Well, if we're involved in a all of the above energy policy, I don't see how you would try to ration capital so that it favors one versus the other. You should be doing all of the above. Just like we say, if we really are going to walk and chew gum at the same time, you shouldn't be trying. The market ought to dictate the pace and the speed of the transition, because a lot of the renewable sources are not ready for prime time yet in terms of pricing. And the only people who are going to hurt are people in lesser developed countries. They're going to pay more. And you look at what happened in Europe. I don't know how much of Putin was emboldened by having Europe and Germany over a barrel, but certainly that played into all of this, Senator. I mean, this is a major...
I totally agree with you, but I have a friend who is in fossil fuel, does natural gas exports. And he's from the Northeast. He said he could not go into his dinner club, and if he mentioned he was in fossil fuel, there was a certain kind of standoffishness that occurred. There's been a social pressure, déclassé, if you will, to be involved in fossil. Well, that's great, except now Europe is looking at spending billions of euros more because they are ill-prepared for what's going forward, and American consumers are paying far higher for gasoline. I will emphasize, though, there is a point of common ground. And last time on our Operation Warp Speed, it's on our website, cassidy.senate.gov/reset. We can do more for carbon capture sequestration, blue hydrogen, alternative forms of nuclear, and get more oil and gas out for the immediate and intermediate concerns.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.